Okay, we're live again. Let's see what happens. Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry. Okay, Suanne, where are you? I'm live. I'm trying again. Here we go. Okay. Go live with Suanne. Ad. Suanne? Waiting for Suanne Braun. Waiting. Oh my God, this might actually work, you guys. Waiting for Suanne Braun. Waiting. Oh my goodness gracious. Yay!
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I was all sitting up with my computer and feeling like super chill, and now I'm like sweating and I'm on my phone and I hope it doesn't run out of power.
I don't think, well, we can always plug it in if we need to. I'm beginning to think that it might be me because last week Kate got the time wrong. So I was like, before we started, bless her. And today we couldn't get it to work. I don't know what that was. But yes, we're here and we've done it. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
Hello. And
what a great idea this is, Suanne. You're so smart.
Oh, well, thank you. It was really just an idea, I thought, to be able to connect with people, have a lovely time.
Yeah.
You know, the world is in such a bizarre place right now. We're all up and down. Everybody's feeling like, and I just figured this is a good way to connect with each other, talk about how we're feeling, and find out more about each other.
Ooh.
Whoops. Whoop.
I'm on my phone, so it might get a little tipsy.
That's all right. I like it. Yes, your hand might get tired though, because it's going to be quite long. Okay. So, well, as I said, it's an absolute treat to have the Grand Empress of
golly, that's a lot of pressure.
Who is not only an accomplished actress, but a director, a producer, a mother, a wife, a philanthropist, and in your own words, a goofball.
Yes, most important one.
Exactly. And I'm going to add to that and say, not only are you all those wonderful things, but you are also an outstanding convention companion and fellow wine drinker.
Yes. I do miss those days.
Oh, I do too. I'm currently not drinking at all, which I figure if I can survive lockdown and not drink, then there's pretty much hope for all of us.
Good for you.
So I'm just going to jump right on in, and we're just going to start.
Golly.
And do you need to set it up on a podium or something? Otherwise, your poor hand is going to get very small.
No, I'll just keep switching.
Okay, we can chat amongst ourselves. That's just your drum roll, you see.
You know what happened? My computer froze, and now it keeps going on and off.
Oh dear. Uh-oh. It's the ghouls. Or the ghouls.
The ghouls.
So we're going to just start right away with a show that probably you are the most famous for, Stargate. And yeah, that little show, little show that could. You played Samantha Carter, Captain Samantha Carter, later Colonel, for 11 years. Is that right? 11 or 12
wow.
years.
Yes, it is. It is.
Well, I mean, no, that is incredible.
Yeah.
And the show is now so firmly ensconced in everybody's hearts, and of course with repeats all over the world. People are watching it again and again and again and again. But I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the audition process and how it came to you, how the job actually came to you.
Oh yeah, I got the call like thousands of others to through my agent to audition. I auditioned in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I'll never, like, it's really bizarre. I don't usually remember auditions, but I think because I loved this character so much that it stuck with me. But I did the audition. The casting director was great. She said, thanks so much. And I got out of the audition and I was feeling so like, anxious about it. And I kept thinking it's going to go to an American. Like that was it. It's going to go to an American. But I ended up walking like all the way up Yonge Street in Toronto from this audition because I just couldn't calm myself down. And then I didn't hear anything.
Oh.
And then suddenly I got this, it's between 3 of you, they're flying you to LA. Oh no, I had to send in like a demo reel of my work.
Yeah.
And then it was you're flying to LA. And then there was 3 of us. And then it was the audition, which I think a lot of people have heard the story, but they had all the Sam Carters, all the Daniel Jacksons, all the Teal'cs, and all the General Hammonds waiting together. in
Wow.
this room at MGM, and which was awkward because you're sizing up your competition. But we all went in once, and then they sent some people home. Said, if we call your name, thank you so much. If we don't, please stay. And you're like, please don't call my name. Please don't call my name.
Oh my God, I know, that's awful.
It was so weird. But Michael Shanks and Christopher Judge and I kind of gravitated towards each other. It's so weird. It was meant to be, I'm sure, but we just ended up kind of hanging out together and running lines, and I don't know, it was super weird. It was this huge waiting room area, and the three of us kind of gravitated towards each other. And then Michael actually waited, because I was the very last person to go in the second round. And he waited for me, and we took a cab back to the hotel together, and we stood in the lobby of the hotel, and he said, okay, well, that was fun. And I was like, hopefully see you on set. Gave each other a hug and walked away. But the audition inside the room was really interesting, because we were up on stage, and it was with Rick.
Isn't that weird, that stage thing that they do for people watching? This is a weird thing that you get taken in to network, where a bunch of usually men are sitting in a room which is sort of dressed like a theater, and there's this funny little platform like a sort of student theater, and you have to perform a television script but on a stage. It's
and ours was like a full stage, like they were down below in the audience. It was bizarre. And then for the first round there was people from MGM, I guess, and then Showtime executives came afterwards for the second round. But I kind of joked around with Rick. And the one thing that happened to me in the audition, and I will forever love Brad Wright for this, is he and Jonathan Glasner came out in between the two sets of auditions, and they pulled me aside. We sort of went outside, and he said, look, you're doing great. I love your work. I'm a big fan. It's like, and he said, what you do, the way you're joking around with Rick in between the actual scenes is fantastic. Throw some of that into the scene. And he said, I really want you to get this part.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a great.
I know. He was so
done.
Yeah, he was so awesome. And and it just gave me this sort of renewed, okay, all right, I'm on the right track. This is good.
Doing the right thing. Which sort of segues really nicely into my next question, which is that you had 3 male co-stars, a very heavily male-dominated set in the early days. Obviously, there was Terrell there, and eventually me for a week or so. But it was largely men. So how was that working, sort of being the only gal? Obviously, I know that there were girls in makeup and that, but largely the only woman.
I felt a lot of pressure. I grew up with 3 brothers, so I'm sort of used to that dynamic, and I was working with 3 guys. So I could sort of hold my own, but it was a real boys club. Stargate was known as being a real boys club kind of show. And so I was always so happy when female guest stars came on. Yay, a girl, you're a girl. But I don't know, it's also kind of a privileged position too, because the guys were very protective of me as well as teasing the hell out of me, but they were also really protective, which was lovely.
Yeah. By the way, for everybody watching, if the comments are coming up over our faces, probably mine, you can just swipe down like that once, and then it'll just give you the bottom ones, and you can actually see. I discovered this in my research. I'm learning a lot about Instagram. So one of the amazing things about Sam Carter was that she's such a strong woman. And I think this is a real testament to you, that she was never shrill. She was never harsh. You made her a fully formed, real woman that I think people instantly gravitated and connected with. And I wondered how much of that was on the page beforehand. Or is it all you?
It's all me.
It's all you.
I mean, they wrote a beautifully well-rounded character. But I mean, I did have that line in the pilot, just because my reproductive organs are on the inside. Which I still
gritted your teeth and said.
So I think it was important to me that she not be a bitch. We had seen so many strong women on television, but they always ended up becoming bitches.
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't want that to happen to her. And I talked to the writers. I mean, you know, again, Brad Wright, I credit him with everything.
Yeah.
He listens, you know, and I just said, don't try to write a woman, right? As if you're just writing a human.
Exactly.
Or a guy,
Exactly.
and I'll just bring an inherent femininity to it.
Yeah.
But they wrote it beautifully. I mean, they really did. And
Oh.
I was just very aware that I didn't want to become the bitch.
Yeah. And I don't think you ever did. You just, you know, she was vulnerable, strong,
Yeah.
lovable. I mean, all those things. So when was the first time that you kind of went, we might have a hit on our hands? When would you remember that feeling of like,
You know, honestly, not that I knew that it was a hit. I knew it was a big show when I first saw the Stargate. And Michael Shanks and I walked around the corner and discovered it. And it was like, oh my God, this is huge. Whoa. Yeah. And then we sort of realized how big the production value was.
Yes.
That was like, that was a big, you know, sort of revelation.
Yeah, I remember too. When I went up for my week and had my costume fitting and all that, and same thing. And then they said, well, we're just going to take you out through the set. And there it was. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
so
it's
cool.
really like so quite, isn't it? Like it's quite awe-inspiring. And then, I mean, we knew after the pilot that the show was going to go for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And I think that alone sort of gave us a good indication that, you know, we were in good hands. But I don't think I knew what a big hit it was until I went to my first convention.
Yes. How was that experience?
It was crazy. It was in England. It was a Wolf event. And we walked out on stage and there were so many people and they all started cheering. And I was like, I was looking around for the Beatles. I was like, are the Beatles just come on stage? What's happening? So it was pretty crazy. And that was like, and then just to start to hear the stories from people and, you know, what the show has meant to them. And so, yeah, then it was, oh, this is a big deal.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most extraordinary things about Stargate is that people who are watching it in 1997 are now having children. And so it has this enormously wide and varied fan base. And so loyal and supportive. I recently was recognized on an airplane by a little boy, and I sort of, he kept looking at me and then talking to his mum, and I was like, wow, I got stuff in my teeth, what's happening? You know? And on an airplane, it was a pre-COVID world when we weren't social distancing at all. You know? Right. And suddenly the mother came up and said, excuse me, are you Hathor from Stargate? And my jaw nearly hit the floor because I was like, and I said, yes. And she went, my son recognized you and we love the show. And because I was like, but he's 11 or 10, what? And of course, that was it. They were having kids and introducing it. So a whole new generation is seeing it now. And I think that it never took itself seriously, Stargate, or too seriously. I mean, it had obviously lots of factual things in it.
Yeah, but it also had a real sense of humor. And I think that was in large part because of Rick. Because he refused to play the jarhead, as he called it. He just didn't want to be that military. So you could see it grow through the course of the seasons as Rick became more and more Rick. But yeah, I think that that's part of what made it kind of accessible too, is that we were fallible and we were a bit goofy at times. And I think that sense of fun, you know, it wasn't this really rigid sci-fi. It had a lot of science in it, which was wonderful. But it also, it had a good sense of humor.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the things that's made it endure so long, you know, for as long as it has. So you're one of the sorry, you were going to say something.
Go ahead.
I was going to say you're one of the few people who got to be in all 3 series in SG1, Atlantis, and Universe. And I'm not going to ask you which was your favorite because that's a bit like choosing your favorite children. But I wondered if you could share with us a sort of special moment from each of the series from the franchise.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I would go back to the pilot on Stargate and just our first day of filming, which we had to reshoot because it poured rain and it was so cold on the mountain that the rain became hail and it was pinging off our helmets. And it was the big escape scene from the prison. So we had all these background people running in the cold. It was just so nutty. Yeah. But it was one of those moments where I sort of looked at Michael and Chris and went, oh my God, this is huge. You know? when Michael and I were running through the woods with our guns out, and we looked at each other and we just burst out laughing because we felt like little kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, there's so many from Stargate. There's so many lovely moments. From Atlantis, it was shooting the episode Trio with Jewel State and David Hewlett.
Yeah.
And it was just the three of us in this episode, and like just getting into the makeup trailer in the morning and laughing instantly.
Oh.
It was just such a special episode to shoot because they're both such wonderful people.
Yeah.
And they're both so funny. Jewel is like one of the funniest women I've ever met. And we just had such a great time. It was just such a joy to come to work every day.
Yeah, I think that's a theme in your work, joy, and in you.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's hugely important to me.
And universe?
Universe was when I became the commander of a ship, and they called it the General Hammond.
Oh,
and it was going into the costume, into the wardrobe truck and into the wardrobe room and trying it on and seeing the patch that said General Hammond. I burst into tears and I was like, this is so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like, I'll never forget, it was just one of those, you put it on and went, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, lovely Dawn.
Yeah.
Definitely. Smoking a cigar and having a scotch, I'm sure.
So,
and was it, when you moved to Atlantis, was that quite weird, having played, I mean, it was the same character, but it must have been such a big shift in energy and new characters. So how did you handle that challenge?
I felt awkward at first. I felt like I didn't quite belong there. I mean, everyone was very welcoming and wonderful, but I felt like kind of an interloper on their show. And it's like, I liken it to sleeping in your own bed or going to your aunt and uncle's house and sleeping in the guest room, where it's your aunt and uncle, so you feel pretty safe and it's fun, but you're not, it's still a bit awkward. I don't know. That didn't last long because everyone was so great, but I just remember at first feeling like, I'm not sure, should I be here?
And do you think that Jack and Sam ended up together? I mean, like forever, ever after, happily? Yeah. Yay! You heard it here first, folks. What do you think they're doing right now?
I think they did end up together, and I think it would be a very interesting relationship because he retired and she would keep working.
Yeah.
And so, they probably have some great weekends at the cabin, but she was in command of a ship now, so
exactly, she could retire.
Yeah.
And tell us about your final day on SG1. Like, do you have any really vivid memories from that?
Yeah. It was so surreal to go in that day, and I think we were all really nervous about it and like sort of anticipating that it was going to be a day full of tears. And we ended up shooting really late, like to 3 a.m. or something. But what Rob Cooper directed the episode, and what he did, which was really smart, was he made the very last scene we shot, and the very last thing you ever see is us going through the gate. And he made that the very last, I
want to cry now.
I mean, you can see pictures from it. Christopher couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying. Michael couldn't stop crying. Claudia and Ben were both kind of like, oh my God, like, understanding the magnitude of it.
Yeah.
But it was, and then when we were about to shoot it, all these people who had worked on the show over the course of the last decade came to the studio at like 3 a.m. and hung out and waited. And so when Rob Cooper yelled cut, there was like the whole decade-long Stargate family in the gate room, just bawling and clapping and hugging. And then Michael, Christopher, and I snuck up into the briefing room, looked down on the gate, and sort of looked at each other and went, well, that happened.
Yeah.
And it was pretty weird. It was weird to drive away.
A fitting end, though, I think.
Yeah.
And as recently as January, it is rumored on Twitter, so it has to be true, I mean,
rumors on Twitter are always true.
That Brad is in talks with MGM again. And I wondered what you would like to see for the franchise moving forward, and if you would like to be a part of it, in either in front or behind the camera.
I would love to be a part of it, actually, in both capacities.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to direct some, but I'd love for Sam Carter to make some appearance somewhere. I think it would be, I think it would be great. It's really funny because at first, when I heard like, oh, they might resurrect it, I was like, oh, come on, it's done. It's done.
Yeah.
But then I was like, wait a second. And it would be a new incarnation of it. It would be the fourth in the franchise. Yeah. But what a great place to revisit. Like, absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
I think we
and
need
to work with Brad again. What's that?
I said, I think we need a showdown.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And so now we're going to move swiftly along to another incredibly strong, powerful woman that you played in Sanctuary, but completely different to Sam. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Dr. Helen Magnus, for those who don't know, for those who've been living under a rock and don't know.
Yeah, where you been? Exactly. Oh my gosh, I loved her. She was such an enigma to me. I loved her strength, and I loved being the two different versions of her, the younger Helen when we went into flashbacks, and then the present day. I loved her complexity. Damian Kindler wrote this as a spec script and then showed it to Martin Wood and I, and we all kind of went, "Ooh, this is good. This could be really interesting."
Yeah.
And what I loved about it was Helen. I mean, I was like, "Oh my God, I would kill to play this part." And it seemed like the right, Sam Carter was so perfect for me at that time of my life.
Yeah.
And Helen was perfect for me, 11 years later. Just a bit more gravitas and a bit more complex and a bit darker.
Yeah.
And I become a mom. And so,
bang on perfect British accent too.
Thank you, darling.
Terribly. But I was like, girl, you're good. So you sort of answered my question, which was what drew you to the project, but it was her strength, and then
oh yeah,
an opportunity to do something like that.
Yeah, and then the actors that we got to do the show with us, just incredible. Like that, to have Ryan Robbins and Chris Heyerdahl and Amelia Ullerup and then of course Agam and Robert Lawrenson, and I mean I could list everybody. Jonathan Young, who's amazing. Like, if you ever get the chance to see Jonathan Young on stage, run.
I will
walk. He's phenomenal. Yeah.
And it was really groundbreaking as well, wasn't it? Because it started as a web series and then it got picked up. But you did the first season almost entirely with green screen and also red cameras. So tell us a little bit about that for people who aren't quite familiar with what that is and what that involves.
Right. So the red camera had just come out, and it was a really kind of new digital platform. And we were the first TV show to shoot with it, which came with a whole host of problems because they didn't really have a support network or center. Yeah. So our DP, Dave Geddes, was on like forums online, going onto forums saying, "Hey, we're having this problem with the red camera. Has anyone dealt with this before?"
A bit like our broadcast this evening.
Right? Exactly. And so he had to deal with that. But then the green screen aspect was just really kind of thrilling to be able to create anything. And then what we realized was like, the standing set of Helen's office was so beautiful. And we had an amazing art director and construction team. And so it was like, we ended up doing less green screen in subsequent seasons than what we started with because,
And also, I think what's amazing about a green screen actually is that it gives you as an actor a chance to really, really be imaginative and imagine stuff, like the play that we used to do as children.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything. It is a tennis ball on a stick,
right.
And now you're terrified.
Yeah. And like we did one where there was holograms all around us. This holographic city came up, and there's a little like didgeridoo that went past, and all these things. It was like, it's not a didgeridoo. That's not the right word. Anyway, and just like our VisFX producer saying, okay, now you flip these, do this, and it'll spin the little fan, and then that'll go floating off this way. And it was just like, to see the finished product from what we were standing in, which was 100% green screen with a couple of tables, was like amazing.
Yeah, mind-blowing, I bet.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was also kind of groundbreaking for you because it was a job that you were executive producer on, you directed it some episodes, and you were the star.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that kind of blows my mind because I know you all three shared responsibility for the show.
Yeah.
But like, talk us through that. That must, I mean, did you enjoy it? Like, what was a typical day for you?
Typical day is like up at 5 a.m. If I'm shooting, then it's get to work, go through hair and makeup, do the rehearsal, run up to the office, check emails, see if I needed to talk to, you know, I was sort of the network liaison.
Right.
Check in with Martin and Damien. In breaks, I would go to editing. Yeah, it was kind of just nonstop. There was always something. There was always something to be dealt with. And we each took a turn, you know, with the final edit of episodes. So
yeah,
yeah, it was like, I've never been busier. I was super happy, but I had a little girl at home. And so it was just like, really, it was an intense time.
Yeah.
Those 4 years of Sanctuary were so intense.
But so you loved the challenge. You enjoyed and rose to that challenge, I think.
Yeah, I did. I really loved it. And I loved the people I was working with. So,
yeah,
you know, Robin Dunn made me laugh so hard every day. Every day. Robin Dunn kind of made that so incredibly special for me, that show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do we think that we might see Sanctuary on our screens again at some point?
I don't know in what incarnation it would be. I know that the intellectual property has been, or somebody has bought the right to create new content and to sell existing episodes.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with it.
Okay. Well, we'll keep watching that space.
Yeah.
And you've of late been very, very, very busy as a director as well. Where did that love of directing come from? Was it being on set every day and kind of learning in a very hands-on way, or is it something you've always wanted to do?
It's something I always wanted to do. And it's really funny because I had a conversation recently with, I used to be in a comedy troupe, and one of the women in the troupe said to me, you're a natural born director. You always have been. You know, I was sort of the director of the troupe and she was the writer, and like, it was really interesting. And she said, you just were born to do this. It so works with your brain. But once I got onto Stargate, I knew that I wanted to direct, but I was so lucky. I had, like, you know, an entire television crew at my disposal who were willing to teach me everything.
Yeah.
So I was able to go to different departments and say, what exactly does a grip do? What is an electric? How do you make that special effect work? How do you do this? And they were all so patient with me and taught me so much, so that when I did finally get the chance to direct on Stargate, I had, you know, sort of a wealth of knowledge, and I'd sat behind the monitors for so long. And so it was a really great launching pad for me.
Yeah.
And because I was, you know, because I was so involved in the show, yeah, it was just, I just never forget directing the first time I directed television. Yeah, it was amazing. And I knew as soon as I walked onto set and started setting up shots that I was going to be doing this in the future. I just didn't know how successful I would be.
Yeah.
You know? And when Sanctuary ended, I did a short stint on Supernatural, playing a recurring character for like 8 episodes. But it was at that time where I was like, oh my God, I've been on television for 15 years solid.
Incredible.
Who am I if I'm not that girl that's on that TV show? Like, time to reinvent. It was time. And so I threw my hat into the ring as a director and got hired on, oh my God, I totally blanked on the name, with the dinosaurs, and you had it in England too. And Primeval New World. Oh my gosh, thank you.
I should know that.
So Primeval New World, and I did 3 episodes of that, and then I got contacted by Simon Barry, who did the show Continuum, by a man named Gary Harvey, who was doing a show called Arctic Air. And they both took a chance on me and gave me 1 episode each. And then the next season I got 2 episodes of each of them, and the word got out, and then it was just word of mouth, basically. And then of course, you know, and then I got hired on Supernatural, et cetera, and it kept going. And then Brad hired me on Travelers, and I became like, you know, me and Andy Makita and Will Waring became the 3 sort of stable directors on Travelers, and that was a phenomenal experience. But yeah, it's just sort of gone up from there. And lately I've been doing a lot of Warner Brothers.
I know.
I know.
You've done everything from Stargate, Travelers, Continuum, Van Helsing, and then Blind Spot, Anne with an E, and very lately Batwoman. So how do you prepare for all those different genres?
You watch it, a lot of the shows, you see how they're shot, you know, because I did The Flash just before I did Batwoman, and they're different shows. And prior to that, I did Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is another completely different show. So it's just watching the shows and sort of figuring out the style of the show and the pace of the show. And then it's really just based on your script. And Anne with an E was like such a gift. I love that show so much.
I love that show.
Oh, it's so... Moira Walley-Beckett, who was the executive producer and showrunner and creator of this version of Anne with an E.
She was on Breaking Bad, right?
She was a producer writer on Breaking Bad. She won Emmys, Peabodys. I mean, the woman is one of my superheroes.
Yeah.
So I remember I was in Toronto directing Dark Matter, and I got asked to interview with Miranda de Poncier and Moira Walley-Beckett. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So I went and had this great interview with them and sort of, you know, crossed my fingers. And then I got hired, and I got hired to do the season finale in season 1. And then I did 2 episodes in season 2 and 2 episodes in season 3. Oh. And yeah, it was phenomenal. It's a great show.
Sorry,
I'm
Mike.
sad it ended.
Somebody's trying to send an email to me, and I'm like, don't do that now.
Don't do that now. You're busy.
Exactly. I'm in the middle of something. Now, normally we allow the last 15 minutes for fans to ask questions, and I'm sure there are tons of questions. However, I think we started a bit later, so I'm going to quickly race through. Do you remember what time we started? Because Instagram will cut us off anyway after an hour.
Oh, they will? Oh, dear. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what time we started. Anyone out there remember what time we started this last?
I think it was about 10 past. So,
okay.
Let's quickly, I'm going to just say, I know that you've been nominated very recently for Anne with an E, and because of the COVID outbreak, they've had to rejig things. So we just, you know, everyone is sending you great luck and sincerely.
Thank you.
Hope,
that's really crazy, Anne with an E, that nomination, because I'm nominated with a couple of women who have been my heroes for so long, Ann Wheeler and Helen Shaver. And Helen was like so supportive of me when I first started directing, because she was directing Poltergeist at the time. And Ann Wheeler is someone I've gone to when I've had, you know, issues or questions or when I need a boost. Ann Wheeler has been there for me. And so to be in the same category as those two was pretty amazing.
Oh, well, keep us
blown away.
As I said earlier, you have a sort of innate joy that just comes out, and it really comes across. And you're also a bloody brilliant comedian. And you'd mentioned random acts. So any desire to return to your comedic roots?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I'm always doing a comedy routine when I'm on set, but yeah, I would love to go back to that. I would love to get back on stage too. I think it's time for me to do that.
Yes. Okay. So producers, anybody watching this? Oh, gorgeous Amanda wants to get back on stage. Come on. What's next for you? What's on your bucket list and that you still want to do and achieve?
There's a show that I've been working on for a long time with a writing partner in San Francisco that I would love to bring to fruition, a television series. Mm-hmm. I'd love to do a film. I think it's time for me to direct long format.
Yes.
So I would love to direct a feature. And I want to get back on stage. So
brilliant. Well, let's make sure that those things happen. I love it. Let's make sure that those things happen. Now, just before we hand over to the fans, bear with me 1 second because I have to get this up. I was told that you are a big Coronation Street fan. Is that correct?
You know what? I haven't watched it in a very long time, but I was a huge Coronation Street fan. And when I came to do, I think it was the first AT event, the girls, the Gabbett Four, not all girls, there's a boy.
Yes.
They got me onto the Coronation Street set. We got a tour of the Coronation
amazing.
set, and I pulled a pint in the Rovers, and I freaked out. I touched the cobbles. I was like, oh God.
Well, I have a little something for you. I'm going to have to try and do this in a better way. I hope you can see this and hear it. Let's get all the volume right up. And it's especially, bear with me, for you. So
this is Daniel Wank here. You probably know me better as Billy Mayhew from Coronation Street. I'm hoping that this lockdown will be over and done with as soon as possible so we can all get back to work and you can continue to watch your favourite show. I hope you're well and safe and look after yourself.
isn't that lovely? The legend.
Oh
Especially for you.
How did you do that?
Honey, I'm a goddess, you know. I aim to please.
Oh my God, thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'll send it to you if you'd like.
Okay.
Now, last thing, and I just
So
wanted to touch
awesome.
very, very briefly on Gabbett, because your sort of charity work has been
Sorry,
extraordinary.
I'm still a bit.
she's verklempt, everyone. She's overcome. Your charity work is really quite inspirational, and a lot of that, I think, has come, hasn't it, from your undying, unwavering support from your many legion of fans.
Sanctuary for Kids would not have existed if it weren't for the fandom. Like, I can't even say enough, and it's about the Gabbett events in particular, and what those weekends, not just the amount of money they raise, but the amount of goodwill that they raise, and the amount of love that is just like, ripples out from those events. But yeah, the fandom had been so incredibly supportive. So Sanctuary for Kids was sort of born from that.
Yeah.
Because we knew we could, harness the power of this incredibly generous fandom and do good with it. And so it's been phenomenal. And sadly, we shut our doors at the end of last year. But still, like, when we, this Gabbett event coming up, the money was still going to go to Nepal Orphans Home, and that'll happen again. Right. I mean, I'm still donating to the charities. So yeah.
And we hope that we'll see you next year here in London. Yes. So I am going to hand it over to the fans now. So I think, first, best goddess Hathor. That's very nice. Thank you. So guys, fire away with your questions, because I think we've got till 10 past, hopefully. Before we quickly answer a question, Amanda, when we hang up, because I'm going to try and steer people to this who are expecting it to be on my page. When you hang up, it's going to give you an option on the left-hand side, a little arrow that'll say download this video or save the video. Please save it so that I can get it from you. Okay. Otherwise I've not delivered. Right, okay, hang on. I'm going to just try and see. So bear with me. Did you direct, hi Amanda, did you direct an episode of the season 7 of The 100? I'm a super fan from Belark. So I'm saying that right. So thank you for the amazing scene in season 6.
Yeah, I didn't direct in season 7 because I was booked. So, but I did direct in season 6, and I loved it. What a crazy show that is to work on. So much fun. And J.R.
How?
Was that?
Crazy how?
It was just big in scope, big in extras, big in, it was just a big show, and it was a big episode. And I got to work with J.R. Bourne. I got to boss him around, which was super fun.
Always fun to boss actors around, right?
Right.
So a question here, what mementos, if any, have you taken from the shows that you have worked on, and what is your favorite?
I haven't taken a lot. I took my Stargate jacket, my Sam Carter jacket. And then I took some things from Helen Magnus's desk, and a couple of her suits.
Oh yes, they gotta get the clothes. The clothes,
right?
Well, because the clothes are made for you, aren't they? So it's like it's mad not to.
Yeah. But well, I didn't take a lot from that. I took a couple of knickknacks from Helen's desk.
Right.
Yeah.
We have here, how was your experience on Blind Spot in New York?
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I'd never shot in New York before, so I was really excited to be there. They put me up in this little apartment in Brooklyn, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Cool fact, John Lennox, who was one of the producers on Stargate,
Yay,
John lived like 10 minutes away because he
Yeah.
was executive producing Remy Malek's show. Remy Malek,
yes, Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot, thank you.
That's it, yeah.
So I saw John and his family every weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, I just walk through Fort Greene Park and there he was. But yeah, I had a great time. And what was so cool was I got a lot of toys. Like they didn't say no to anything. Yeah. I was like, well, can I have an ultimate arm and a crane and a remote head on this camera? And can I have GoPros attached to the side of the truck? And can I? And they were like, yeah.
Becky tapping.
I was like, oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm trying to keep up with these questions, but they're scrolling really fast on my end. So who's the first person you're going to hug when social distancing is over?
Who's the first person I'm going to hug?
Yeah.
Really hard? My mom.
Yeah. Me too. Not your mom. That would be weird.
I'm like a hugger. I'm a hugger.
Yeah, me too.
I always have been, awkwardly so sometimes.
Yes.
So yeah, and I really miss it. So I hug Olivia, like, poor kid. She's like every day.
How does she feel about her mum being the grand empress of sci-fi? Has she watched all your episodes? Is she, or are you just mom?
I'm mom, but she's really proud of me. Like she'll watch, and she sees that occasionally I'll get recognized, and she's really, she's really proud of it. But she watches the shows I direct and talks about the shots that I've come up with, and performances.
Does she have any desire to go into the business, do you think?
She, at the age of 10, said that she wanted to be a graphic novelist and has sort of stuck to that path. And now she wants to create an animated series. She doesn't want to be in front of the camera. But yeah, she's like, it's crazy. She's really good.
Oh, well, I look forward to seeing it. Right, let's have a quick look here. What stage play would you like to be in?
That's a really good question. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I had a thought for a long time of certain shows I wanted to do, but now I'm older, so I have to rethink.
I think you'd be amazing in Chekhov. Any
Chekhov. And I'd love to do Shakespeare again. I'd like to tread the boards and do some Shakespeare.
Yeah, get the mouth around that. Somebody had a really good question here. Favorite episode of SG1. I don't know if you're willing to pick one. I mean, that's a lot in 11 years.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, overall, I would say Heroes Part 1 and 2, just because of the story we told and the emotion of it and how it was shot. And it's just, I think that it's a great two-parter. It was really brought everyone out. So I would say that. I really enjoyed shooting Grace. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't have to put up with the boys.
She's only kidding.
I'm kidding. But Heroes overall, I would say.
Oh, fantastic. Somebody's asked us, what's the best memory of us together? Like of us working together. I mean, that's gone past now, but it was something like.
Oh, you and I?
Yes, I think they mean you and I. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody wants to know what? Can you tell us what it is? Oh my God, I keep jumping up. Where you found the Fountain of Youth?
Where? I'd like to know where. I would like to.
My laughter is the fountain of youth.
I know. I'm like, don't I have filters on the live?
I know, right?
Nobody needs to see
right
that.
Here.
Yes, it was. What is our favorite memory of us working together?
Oh my gosh, you were such a sweetheart. I was so happy to have you there on the show.
Thank you.
Actually, my favorite memory is at that one convention. I can't even remember where we were, and you and I sat in my hotel room and just talked and talked.
Germany.
Talked and talked.
Yes.
Is it Germany? Oh my gosh. And you were telling me about that play in South Africa.
Yes.
And, that was such, I'll never forget that night. That was just really lovely.
Me too. Yeah. It was really special. And I also remember very clearly being quite, it's quite weird when you have to play somebody's sexy and kind of like, and like it doesn't come naturally to me. I'm always a bit like,
Oh, totally. I hear you. I'm the same.
I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, and there's so many guys, and oh, I'm half naked a lot, and all that sort of thing. And then I met you.
Very brave.
You were so warm and welcoming. I mean, everyone was, but I just remember very clearly you were like, hi, I'm Amanda, and you came right up and you introduced yourself, and I was like, it's gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay.
We're gonna live.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God, I've missed so many questions. I'm so sorry, everyone. I think maybe because I can't control it, unfortunately, now, because it's not on my page, you have to save the video.
I'll save the video.
We'll have a look. Yeah, you can also save it and then save it to your stories, and then people can watch it for 24 hours. Which kiss was your favorite kiss with Richard Dean Anderson?
All of them.
Yeah.
Oh, the one in Grace was pretty intense. That was pretty like sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He kind of grabbed my face and just like, oh, we're doing this. Okay.
Who was your hero when you were growing up?
Oh my gosh. Well, in terms of actors, Maggie Smith from The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie was like, I loved that film.
That's a good play for you.
Yeah, it would be awesome, actually. I'd love to do that. My grandmother, my mom's mom, Bibi, because she was so strong.
Yeah.
And so tiny, tiny, tiny woman. She lived to be 103 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, the half was really important to her, so she could outlive the Queen Mum. Like she wanted to beat her. My grandmother was she was born in 1901. She lived through 2 world wars. She immigrated to Canada at the age of 65. Like just crazy life that she lived. And she was just so funny and tough. And she had a huge crush on Richard Dean Anderson.
Who did?
She said, I don't understand your show, Mandy, but I like that Colonel fella. And then she said, which cracked me up because she was 98 at the time, she said, ooh, if I were 20 years younger. And I thought, you'd be 80 almost. You might want to be like, I don't know, 50 or 60 years younger. Go. So Richard, to this day, Richard will still joke about that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Gosh, these questions are coming past so fast. Funniest moments on the SG1 set for us both. That's a hard word.
That is hard. There's so many.
I know. That's a really hard one to answer in a kind of quick fire thing. Dream project to direct. Do you have a dream project that you'd like to direct?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
No. I mean, this new series that I want to do, I think would be really cool. And I would love to do a really deep, dark drama movie.
That's a good question. Somebody's just asked, what is your biggest directorial challenge and why?
It really depends on the show. I think not so much now because I've done like 55 or 56 episodes of television, but when I first started, it was getting people to believe that Amanda, the actress, could direct, that I knew what I was doing. And I find that every time I go onto a show, I have to prove myself within the first day in prep and then the first day on set so people will then relax and just let me do my job. But it's a lot of tap dancing.
Yeah, I have to say, for anyone who hasn't watched it yet, head on over to YouTube and watch Amanda's Bite the Bullet. It's quite short, but it's really outstanding. And I think you raised such good points about being a woman in the business, about being a woman in the business today after Me Too or during Me Too. I mean, sort of slightly post Me Too now. There have been these huge shifts in how people work, but also the perception of you, as you said, every single time you walk onto a set, you have to fight for that respect. You are asked questions that your male counterparts would not be asked. And this isn't to go like, oh, men are terrible, you know. It's just, I found it really revelatory in what you were saying. And I really strongly urge everyone to go over and have a look at that.
Thanks. Yeah.
I think we are about to run out of time because I don't know. We started and I don't want them to cut us off. And there are so many questions. What did you plan for the season of Sanctuary that didn't happen? Such a cliffhanger. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh yeah, we so wanted to explore that new Sanctuary. I wanted to bring Ashley back in season 5. There were so many things that I wanted to do on that. Yeah. We have 10 minutes left, somebody just said.
Oh,
what's it like to work with the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina cast? They're amazing, all of them. Oh my gosh. Kiernan Shipka is like arguably one of the best number ones I've ever worked with. She is so prepared, so sweet, stays on set, kind to everybody, just an absolute love, super talented. I can't say enough. The cast was phenomenal. Yeah.
Somebody wants to know what it was like directing the kissing scene in Anne with an E. I think I've had to I've lost the
Oh
question.
yeah.
So.
There was a lot of pressure on that because, it was the season finale. Anne and Gilbert were finally going to kiss.
I know.
They were kind of awkward with each other about it, even though they're friends, but they were just like, oh, here we go. And it was like, no, don't cover her face with your hand. And it became quite technical. But they were just, And Lyra was on set.
Oh, there we go. You're back.
Oh, sorry. It was so important to get that right. And I knew the enormity of it. And it was a huge day that day. And I was like, oh, I've got to give time for the kiss. I've got to give time for the kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have as much fun punching Ball as it was fun to watch?
Yes. I like punching Ball. I didn't like punching Cliff, but I liked punching Ball. Amanda didn't want to punch Cliff.
No.
Let make that clear. Yeah, I loved it whenever I got to punch people. It's always fun.
Oh yeah. Punching is much more fun than the kissing, actually.
Yeah. It's true.
How was the Travelers directing and acting experience?
Oh, again, another show that I just lament the end of. Travelers was a really special show. Because of Brad Wright, just getting to work with him. But I love that man. Just the cast and the crew, and it was just so, I thought the stories were interesting. It was really an interesting show to shoot. And then the acting on it, Brad said, hey, will you, do you want to do this part? And I was like, well, it's like just one episode, right? Yeah. And I was super nervous because I had been a director on the show, and I wanted to hear me as a director, not as an actor. And then I came in all made up, and I quite enjoyed it. I had a great time because, I was working with a great actor. But then I read it, and it's like, hey, wait a second. This is a cliffhanger, and it looks like she's coming back, Brad.
Woo!
So I had to film the scene where I died. Like, I directed that episode. And that was hard, directing and acting. It had been a while since I did it. Lying on the floor dead in a pool of blood. And then, and then, wait, cut. Okay, how is that?
It's like the one-man fringe show of but with a really great crew. I think we've probably got one. I'm going to do one more question because I want to sign off properly without us rushing. And there was a good question there asking what it's like working with the kids in Anne with an E. And I think that is quite interesting because there are so many rules now working with children. I just did a film called The Princess Switch, which is a really Christmas film, and lots of children. So there's so many. It's very different. It's a different experience working with kids. How did you find that directing?
It is. You have to be really careful. And the time, we were always looking like, how old is she now? Is she 15 yet? Is she, because then the rules change depending on what age the kids are. And remembering with Amy Beth, because she's so mature and she's so well spoken, she's quite an articulate young woman, trying to remember, especially in that first season, that she was a kid. She's 13, and just watching her grow up on the show and just being aware that no matter how mature these kids seem, they're still kids. But one of my favorite scenes was with all the girls in the boarding house in the final season, in the final episode, and just them giggling and laughing and being girls. And it was, but you just have to be more aware when you're working with kids about how you say things, about
keeping a respectful set, keeping it a little quieter because they're going to bring so much energy in. And, yeah, but it's fun.
On that note, a really huge thank you for taking time out of your day.
Thank you.
We made it work in the end. It was a little unconventional, but we will direct people to you, to your story. So save it, download arrow at the top left, and then also save it to your story after that. And then people can watch it for a further 24 hours, and I'll direct people over to that.
Thank you
so
everyone
much
for joining us. Thanks for
thank
coming
you
out.
so much.
And Suanne, my love, I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Mwah.
Okay,
Bye,
thank
guys.
you,
Thank you so
everybody.
much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Take care. Stay safe. Lots of love.
Yes, stay safe, everyone. Bye.
Bye. How do I?